All right, Adrian, appreciate you taking your time, man, and just kind of sitting with me and just kind of talking about real estate. And I know one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was distress situations.
Yeah, yep.
So I know in my career, every time I've helped someone get out of a distress situation, not all sales are distress situations, but when I have been able to get someone out of that bad spot with their property, I mean, that's the client that I love helping the most.
Yeah, it's a great feeling, man.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because they really do need the help
Hmm.
and they gain so much out of the transaction. It's fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
So helping someone getting out of that bad spot or financial spot, the emotional and mental and spiritual gain that they get from that experience is why I like to do my job, man.
Mm.
And I know you and the team, that's what you guys focus on, is just helping people get out of distress situations from point A and get them from point A to point B.
Hmm.
So just in your experience, man, I mean, what have you experienced with your clients, getting out of, you know, helping them get out of that distress situation? What kind of mental and spiritual gains do they get from the transaction?
Wow. Yeah, man, that was well said. Great question, by the way. Um, you know, and I don't know if you've ever gone through like a tough situation before too, but I have personally, and it's draining. There's stress, just the unknown. You lose sleep.
Mhm.
So, I think it's huge peace of mind to people that we can help and get them out of that situation. A lot of the time I've seen they've been able to grow closer to their families,
Mhm.
which is huge. I mean,
Mhm.
especially these days when there's so much uncertainty out there. People are just becoming so detached and separated in, different situations. People are also starting to isolate,
Mhm.
things like that. They think it's the way to go and they just spiral downwards. So
Yeah.
I think when we're able to give them a solution and again, get them from, point A all the way to point B, close on the deal in these situations and get them out of that, it's a huge weight off their shoulders. From what I've seen, we've been in countless situations where we've been able to help people out, and seriously, like people, are in tears, like
Yeah.
with so much happiness and joy that we're able to help them in those situations and get them out of it, and help them accomplish their goals. We've had people that's been able to, they've been without transportation because their cars have been broken down and they needed money so bad that they're able to get to that point where they can fix their cars, they can get to doctor's appointments, they can go see family now. They're just able to do things, and that just because that weight is off their shoulders. So it's huge, and it's a blessing for us to be in a situation where we can do that. And that's what brings a lot of joy to us is,
Nice.
not only getting a deal done, I mean, that's great, but hey, like we're truly helping, whether it's someone, a family, get out of these situations. I think it's an amazing thing, man. So,
Sweet, man. I totally agree with you, and that's awesome. There's a lot of people in our industry, and I wish a lot of them thought a little bit more like Arizona Home Guide. Everyone's kind of just in it for the sale, it seems like. And I love partnering with people who truly care about the community and want to make a difference. So I appreciate your team for that, man.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah.
I kind of want to dive deeper a little bit just for everyone who's kind of watching. I mean, what is can you give us some examples of distress situations with properties?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you about one that we did recently and,
Mhm.
a couple of others, but there was one recently. I worked with this guy for probably 3 or 4 months. It was a long process, but it was very rewarding for us too.
Mhm.
Um, he had a lot going on in such a short period of time. Within about a 2 year time span, his mother passed away. He ended up having a stroke and ended up being in a wheelchair,
Mm.
on a breathing machine. But what's crazy about that is his spirits, even though all these things happen, were still very, very high. He was a very happy person. Every time I talked to him, he was always, joking, laughing. And even though I only saw him face to face a few times, I had a lot of conversations over the phone. I could tell he was like smiling through the conversation just because of his tone and how he was. And I think a lot of it had to do with the relationship that I was able to build with him too.
Mhm.
Um, So, basically what happened is mom passed away. He inherited a house, but he's on very limited income, and his medical bills were just stacking up, stacking up,
Mhm.
stacking up because of the situation he was in.
Yeah.
And the home he inherited ended up having a loan on it, and he got behind about a year in mortgage payments, and he was actually going to be facing foreclosure. He was going through pre-foreclosure at the time,
Mm.
and he was literally about a month and a half away from this home being foreclosed on, and him essentially getting nothing out of the deal, and he would still been in the same situation that he would have been in. This gentleman also needed regular doctor appointment and checkups because
Mhm.
of his stroke and his situation, and he didn't have any reliable transportation. He had a vehicle that, unfortunately, another thing that happened is the engine blew up, so he
Mm.
couldn't get anywhere. He was relying on people for rides.
Yeah.
So tough situation. So we were actually able to come in. I built a great relationship with the guy. Basically learned about his entire family, going back to his childhood and, kind of what he dealt with growing up in life. And we were able to help him in this situation. And we gave him an offer that he, could live with on his property. His property, also another thing too, is it was, I mean, just an easy way to say it, it was falling apart. It needed literally everything top to bottom, in and out. You name it, the property needed it. So he was in a highly distressed situation himself, and also the property was highly distressed too.
Yeah.
So, we were able to come in, work a deal that worked for him and his family, get him to the closing table, which was awesome.
Mhm.
And we were able to, put some money in his pocket. He was able to pay off the debts that he had, basically have a fresh start. And actually, I ended up following up with him probably about a week and a half after the close was done. And he was able to get his check, and he actually got some reliable transportation too. So,
Nice.
yeah, man, he was beyond happy. Great situation that we were able to help him out with. And what's crazy too is, he had a lot of people that were calling him day after day, probably, morning, afternoon, and night, trying to basically buy his property. But, his biggest thing in wanting to work with us is because we cared about him so much. We took the time to learn about him, his family, his situation, talk about his options with him. Got really creative because we had to get creative in the situation. Whereas everyone else that was calling him, what do you think they were after?
Mhm.
They were just after his
The
property,
sale.
the sale, and that's it. He even was like, hey, they never even asked how I was doing, which is huge. So we go above and beyond for anyone we work with. We listen to them, their situation, and we just want to be a helping hand and a listening ear is what we want to do. I mean, we love helping the community. We're very big in it. So that's one example of the distress situation. We had another one. This was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. Gentleman was living in a home that, his wife, for, I think it was like probably 30, 40 years, ended up passing away, and he just couldn't let go. But his home, again, was in a really bad situation. He had, I don't know if you heard the term polybutylene plumbing,
Mhm.
and it had already started, causing leaks and whatnot. So he had, holes in the drywall because he would go in and try and repair it, himself, or he'd have someone come over. He was in a situation where he was starting to hoard stuff because he was just so lonely. And his goal was to get closer to his family, his son, his daughter-in-law, and his grandchildren, which lived on the other side of town.
Mhm.
So, we were actually able to come in and help him do a couple of things. We were able to acquire his property as is, that needed a lot of work. And we actually were also able to help him purchase a home, that was actually literally right around the corner from, his son, daughter-in-law, and his grandchildren.
Mhm.
And again, this is a situation too where we were able to do, constant follow-up even after the transactions were done, months after, and he's just in a so much better place, mentally, spiritually, what we talked about earlier. He's still sad about, his wife of so long passing, but being that he's closer to family, which to most people, that's one of the most important things in life, and, me too, as well. So he's just in so much of a better place. So it's just an amazing, experience that we were able to, to be able to transact and help him with, and just get him to that end goal that he had, So
Yeah.
yeah, just a couple of examples. Um, Other examples of distress situations is, hey, these days with, again, I mentioned earlier, so much uncertainty that's going on in the world right now. Everyone, like, money is tighter than it's probably been in years or decades, right? So, there's people that own homes they've owned for a long time, and let's say they need like a new roof, for example. Their shingles are super worn, and with the cost of everything that's skyrocketed over like the last 3 or 4 years, the cost of a roof, to replace could be 10, 15, $20,000 if people don't have it.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot of money.
it's not cheap, man. And most people, that's a lot to come up with.
Yeah,
And if
definitely.
they can't get a loan or anything for that to take it out, and the roof eventually falls apart, I mean, they're going to get leaks, they're going to get all kinds of problems, and then the house is going to get even worse. So you have those situations. You have situations where plumbing might go out. I mean, we live in Tucson, right? So it's hot as heck during the summer. ACs are known to go out, and those are, a lot of money to replace right now too. And again, people don't have money for these situations. So again, a lot of time we're able to come in and we can help these people out by buying their homes as is, getting them to a better situation. And, it's just really helping them out, and again, get out of a situation that could eventually get really, really bad. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely, man. Yeah, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of folks in our industry, and a lot of them are great folks and they're great at what they do, but they are definitely in the real estate business.
Yeah.
And why I like partnering with you guys is because you guys understand that you guys are in the people's business,
Hmm.
and all you guys care about is just helping your clients just see them happy and achieve their goals, whether it's simply upsizing or downsizing, or
Yep.
the roof is literally about to fall on them, and you help them, you know, capture some of that equity and move to another place that's better suits them. So
Yeah.
yeah, congrats to you guys again. And again, I appreciate your partnership.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, no, it's true. And appreciate you having us on, be able to chat about these things. And again, I mean, we're here to help is the biggest thing. And we've been doing this for over 10 years. And we wouldn't be here for as long as we have if we didn't go above and beyond and help people out and do things the right way. I think that's important. There's a lot of people out there that are lack of better words, just greedy, and they're in it to make a quick buck, and then they're out, or they do something the wrong way, and it's not good business.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I
So
agree.
yeah, we pride ourselves on doing the right things. So,
Sweet, man.
yeah.
Well, looking forward to continuing our partnership and just taking care of Tucson one family at a time.
Let's do it, man.
Sweet, man.
Perfectly
All
said, man.
right,
Heck
cool.
yeah. All right.